What's the biggest promise your parents broke? I was 16 when my little sister Sophia was diagnosed with leukemia. Our parents sat us down and made this big speech about fighting this as a family. They promised Sophia they'd never miss a treatment, never leave her side. For the first month, they kept that promise. Dad took family leave, Mom rearranged her work. They were model parents, the kind nurses smiled at them. The novelty wore off. It started small. Dad would be running late to appointments. Mom would have just this one work emergency during Sophia's chemo. Soon I was the one sitting beside my 12-year-old sister, while poison dripped into her veins. I'd hold the basin when she vomited, stroke her back, and tell her Mom and Dad were on their way. They rarely were. By month 3, I was learning medical terminology, discussing treatment options, and sleeping in hospital chairs. I'd take notes during doctor visits, then relay everything to my parents. Later, they'd nod, ask a few questions to seem engaged, then change the subject. "It's just so hard to see her like that," Mom would say. "I'm working overtime for the medical bills," Dad would explain, though insurance covered 90%. One night Sophia's fever spiked to 104 degrees. I called my parents 17 times while rushing her to the ER. They didn't answer until morning. Dad texted, "Sorry, phone was on silent. Everything okay?" Everything was not okay. Their daughter had nearly died. When Sophia lost her hair, I learned to wrap headscarves. When she couldn't eat, I researched which smoothies might stay down. When she cried at night, terrified of dying, I was the one who held her and promised everything would be okay. My senior year became a blur of hospital corridors and missed classes. My college applications sat half-finished. Meanwhile, my parents' Instagram showed them at restaurants, concerts, weekend getaways, mental health breaks, they called them. The breaking point came during Sophia's bone marrow transplant. She needed someone there 24/7 for 2 weeks of isolation. My parents promised they'd take shifts with me. On day 2, Mom called with a terrible migraine. Dad had an unavoidable client dinner. I stayed all 14 days straight, sleeping on a cot, showering in the hospital bathroom. When Sophia finally rang the remission bell 6 months later, my parents showed up in new outfits with a photographer. They posted tearful captions about our family's journey and never giving up. Comments praised their strength and dedication. That night, I found Sophia crying in her room. "What's wrong?" "This is good news," I said. "They're acting like they were there," she whispered, but they weren't. After Sophia recovered, I graduated and moved out immediately. I took a job instead of college to save money. 6 months later, I filed for legal guardianship of Sophia. My parents were shocked, genuinely confused why I would tear apart our family after we'd all been through so much together. The judge reviewed Sophia's medical records, noting who had signed every form and attended every appointment. He asked my parents to name Sophia's doctors, her medications, or any details of her treatment plan. They couldn't. I got full custody when I was 19. Sophia moved in with me that weekend. 3 years later, my parents called. Dad had been diagnosed with lymphoma. The cruel irony wasn't lost on me. They needed someone to drive him to treatments, manage his medications, and help navigate the medical system. "Mom is too overwhelmed to handle it alone," they said. "We need you," they said. I agreed to meet them at the hospital for Dad's first treatment. I sat with them in the waiting room, watching their nervous faces as they confronted the same sterile environment Sophia had lived in for years. When the nurse called Dad's name, I stood up, gathered my things, and said, "I hope someone shows up for you." Then I walked out the door and never looked back. Sophia and I spent that evening making dinner together in our apartment, talking about her college applications. She's studying oncology now.